हरि जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारि यमुनतीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारि यमुनतीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे जय राधा रस बिहारी राधा रस बिहारी राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बालदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शन जय गौरांगी बेंगलोरीश्वर गौरांगी बेंगलोरीश्वर गौरांगी जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव प्रहलाद नरसिंह जय अनंत देव जय निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Harinam Sankirtan Mahayagya Ki Jai Jai Vishnupat Paramahamsa Parivrajapacharya Stotra Shata His Divine Grace अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाचार्य स्टोत्र दिवान विष्णु भक्ति संस्कृत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नमो आचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ षट गोस्वामी प्रभुगण की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण चंद्र गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय श्री क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय द्वारिका धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय कावेरी माई की जय भक्ति देवी की जय तुलसी महारानी की जय समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories and glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतं सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुलङ्गायतेन गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदन्तारिणं परमानन्दं माधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम् हरि ओम तत्सत् Hare Krishna. We'll continue our reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 11. And the text number today we're reading is 11. The chapter is titled Swayambhu Manu. Swayambhu Manu advises Dhruva Maharaj to stop fighting. This is with the precursor that, okay, let's read the shloka and then we will discuss. Let me allow me to share my screen. सर्वभूतात्मा भावेन भूतावसं हरिं भवम् आराध्यपा दुराराध्याम् विष्णोर्तत्परमं पदम् सर्वभूतात्मा भावेन भूतावसं हरिं भवन् आराध्यपा दुराराध्याम् विष्णो तत्परं पदम् सर्वभूतात्मा भावेन भूतास्वसं हरिं भवम् आराध्यपा दुरार्धाद्यं विष्णोर्तत्परं पदम्. Word to word translation. Sarvabhuta, in all living entities, Atma, upon the super soul, Bhavena, with meditation, Bhuta, of all existence, Avasam, the abode, Harim, Lord Hari, Bhavan, you, Aradhya, by worshipping, Apa, have achieved, Turadhyam, very difficult to propitiate. Vishnu, of Lord Vishnu, Tat, that, Param, supreme, Padam, situation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. It is very difficult to achieve the spiritual abode of Hari in the Vaikuntha planet, but you are so fortunate that you are already destined to go there. Go to that abode by worshipping him as the supreme abode of all living entities. Purport: the material bodies of all living entities cannot exist unless sheltered by the super soul, by the spirit soul and the super soul. The spirit soul is dependent on super soul, who is present even within the atom. Therefore, since everything material or spiritual is completely dependent on the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Lord is referred to here as Bhutaswa. Dhruva Maharaj, as a Kshatriya, could have argued with his grandfather Manu when Manu requested him to stop fighting. But even though Dhruva could have argued that as Kshatriya, it was his duty to fight with the enemy. Just give me 1 minute. Sorry, let me continue again. But even though Dhruva could have argued that as Kshatriya it was his duty to fight with the enemy, he was informed that since every living entity is a residence of Supreme Lord and can be considered as the temple of the Lord, the unnecessary killing of anything, any living entity is not permitted. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to Canto 4 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 11. And the text number that we're discussing today is 11. Om Tat Sat Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Padameyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagjatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunmevadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. We continue our reading from the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam with the 11th chapter, where Swayambhu Manu is advising Dhruva Maharaj to stop unnecessary killing. So this is something very, very important. The background here is Dhruva Maharaj's brother Uttama was dear to him, and when Dhruva Maharaj realized that Uttama was killed by the Yakshas, he said, I will take revenge. He was actually killed by one Yaksha, not the whole community of Yakshas came to kill Uttama. But Dhruva Maharaj, when he heard that his brother was unnecessarily killed by Yakshas, he decided to take revenge on them. And while taking revenge, he started killing mercilessly. And why do we say mercilessly? Because whoever came in his way from the Yaksha community, he killed them. And he did not differentiate between somebody who was involved in killing his brother or not involved in killing his brother. It was the complete massacre that we can call it as a massacre of the Yakshas. And when Swambhu Manu saw this, he said, no, I don't think this is the right thing. And Swambhu Manu is the grandfather of Dhruva Maharaj. And he comes down and tells him that, I think whatever you're doing is not the right thing to do. And it's not advisable that you continue this killing. And he requested him, saying that he should stop it immediately. And to that effect, I think this is the conversation which is happening. So for my own benefit and benefit of all of us, let me just read the purport once again. Let me also display it. I will share the purport again. Okay. The material bodies of all living entities cannot exist unless sheltered by the spirit soul and the super soul. The spirit soul is dependent on the super soul, who is present even within the atom. Therefore, since anything material or spiritual is completely dependent on the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Lord is referred here as Bhutavasa. Dhruva Maharaj, as a Kshatriya, could have argued with his grandfather, Manu, when Manu requested him to stop fighting. But even though Dhruva could have argued as a Kshatriya, it was his duty to fight with the enemy. He informed that since every living entity is a residence of the Supreme Lord and can be considered a temple of the Lord, the unnecessary killing of any living entity is not permitted. Yeah. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada makes it very clear. Three things that we'll have to really understand here is Dhruva Maharaj was a qualified devotee who had actually had an audience with the Lord face to face. But at the same time, here his grandfather Manu Maharaj is coming and advising him. So he did not argue with his grandfather saying that I'm a Kshatriya, it's my responsibility to kill them, or it is my responsibility to take revenge on people who have not been so good because they killed his own brother, Uttama. He did not argue with that. And the example given here is very, very important for all of us to understand and not to differentiate between any living entity, because every living entity has a spirit soul. And, spirit soul, on top of it, every living entity also has a super soul living within us body. And specifically, it is Shadripuram in the heart region. Within the heart, the super soul lives. So he resides actually. It's not leaves. The super soul resides in every living entity, be it material or spiritual. So Manu Maharaj, or his grandfather, Dhruva's grandfather, is advising him, saying that every living entity is a part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when the Lord is residing within every entity, it actually becomes a temple. And a temple needs to be treated accordingly. You cannot mercilessly kill anybody. As a duty of the Kshatriya, it is very important for them to protect their subjects, protect their kingdom, protect their subjects, even protect the cow, which is very important as a responsibility of the Kshatriya. But here we see that when he's trying to protect, it is the other way around, because he had become overwhelmed with the grief of loss of his own brother and loss of his mother as well, Suruchi. So he was grief stricken, and then he started killing everybody. So Manu Maharaj comes and tells him, I think you should stop immediately killing off the innocent people who are not involved into the war. So that's a very important part to understand as far as today's purport is concerned. And very nicely, Srila Prabhupada has given the details of all of this in the purport today. See, Swambhu Manu, here the form of the Lord is described. Yeah, that he resides in everybody's body. And we can also recall that Dhruva is an exalted devotee. Having seen the Lord eye to eye, or having had that conversation with the Lord one-on-one. Yeah. And this was possible only when he had controlled his senses. We all go back to the previous chapter where it says that Dhruv Maharaj, when he went to the forest, when advised by his mother, he goes to the forest to find Lord Vishnu. And while going to the forest, he meets Narad Muni, who says, "You're a very small boy. What are you going to do in the forest? You're not going to you'll not get anything to eat. The wild animals may eat you away. They may kill you for their food. And, you may not be able to take the austerities and all of that." But then Dhruv Maharaj to that question had answered saying that, "My dear sir, you please guide me and I would follow it. And if you do not want to do so, I would go to the forest all by myself." And then Narad Muni realizes the determination of this little boy Dhruva, and he blesses him and gives him the Guru Mantra. Very important part of it. We had discussed this earlier also, saying that every living entity who wishes to be a devotee or who wishes to take it to spiritual life should have a living Guru, which is given in our Shastras. Here also it is very clearly shown that he has a living Guru. Dhruv Maharaj meets his Guru, Narad Muni, in the forest and gives him the Guru Mantra, and then he moves further. So Dhruva, when he goes to the forest, he stops eating. Initially, he takes only some fruits and then some dry leaves and then only some water sometime. And then after that, he only breathes in certain days. And after that, he had completely stopped even breathing, which is, not possible for a normal human being. So naturally, it shows that, he's an exalted devotee. And only an exalted devotee can really do such things for the Lord, because he's very convinced that, Lord will be pleased with me when I have controlled senses. So here in Brahma Samhita, you have the shloka, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sade Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Sham Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. It says, I worship Govinda, the premier Lord, who is Shamasundara, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of heart, with the eye of devotion tinged with salve of love. So in this shloka, very clearly, Manu Maharaj is seeing living entity. In their heart, he sees Krishna in every living entity, and he gives that instruction to Dhruva, saying that every living entity has a soul, a spirit soul, and then followed by a super soul. So Lord is there in every atom. Super soul experiences by the soul is unforgettable. The soul has to experience the super soul. Manu Maharaj is actually describing the experience, that experience with the Lord. And here it says Nivasa. Vasa means staying. Vrindavan Vas, we say. Vrindavan Vas is staying in the holy dham of Vrindavan. And Bhuta, because everyone lives in Krishna. Aham Sarvasva Prabho. This is from Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, 8th verse. Aham Sarvasva Prabho Matta Sarvam Parvartate. Iti Matva Bhajante Mam Bhutva Bhava Samanvita. He says, I'm the source of all spiritual and material world. Everything emanates from me. This is Krishna speaking to Arjuna. I am the source of all spiritual and material world. Yeah. So be it a body in the spiritual world or be it a body on the material world. Everything emanates from me. Everything has come from Krishna. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Yeah. So one needs to have that intelligence to realize this. And where does the intelligence come from? Intelligence is also given by Krishna. And this is possible only with the Lord. So Dhruva's submission is here, saying that I'm a Kshatriya. He could have submitted that, but he follows his grandfather. Manu Maharaj as well as Dhruva, both were great devotees. But Manu Maharaj is actually senior to Dhruva in age because he's his grandfather. He looks at the logical point of view. Yeah, Dhruva Maharaj is not just honestly, just because my grandfather has told me to stop it, I'm stopping it. No. He looks at the very logical point. Not that he was a Kshatriya and it was his right to fight. So he looks at the logical point saying that every living entity has spirit soul and a super soul, and it's like a temple. You can't be killing mercilessly. Yeah. Everybody is the temple or is the abode of the Lord because the super soul lives in this body. This is the first level of understanding. What is the first level of understanding? Is saying that I'm not this body. I'm a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Once we realize that, then there is nothing called sense gratification. Whatever you do, you will do it on the interest of service to the Lord. Yeah. You always see everybody as a wonderful devotee, part and parcel of Krishna. That realization will come only when we realize that we are not this body. But till such time that we don't realize that we are not this body, this will continue to be haunting us. It will continue to tell us that you are the body. It is for your enjoyment. You are living here only for a few years. Why don't you enjoy? Why don't you finish everything? Yeah. So once we realize, then there is nothing called sense gratification. And when I start looking at it with neutral part, I don't have any base, I don't have friends. And then we'll start realizing that everybody, or we'll start seeing that everybody is a part and parcel of Krishna. And we'll see Krishna in everybody's heart, in every atom that we see. We have to simply follow the 4 pillars of spiritual life. Yeah, it's a very simple process. People say taking up spiritual life is so difficult. It is not so. Spiritual life is very easy to take up, and it's so much of enjoyment in spiritual life that one can relish everything. And the basic starts with that we have to start following the 4 principles of the spiritual life. What are those 4 basic principles? No meat eating. Yeah. With meat eating, we are unnecessarily causing harm to the living entities, killing them and eating them. No intoxication, because it takes control of our mind, which also includes no tea and no coffee. Yeah. Coffee contains caffeine, and because of caffeine, our mind gets really controlled. No illicit sex. Illicit sex means sex out of the marriage life. Yes. There is Varnashrama Dharma. As per Varnashrama Dharma, one is allowed to enter Grahastha Ashram. And when one enters Grahastha Ashram, he is also allowed to, have the family life within the 4 boundaries. So there are certain rules that one needs to follow, but no illicit sex, no sex out of the marriage, legal marriage life. So that's one part of it. No meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. Gambling also, even the greatest of the devotees like the Pandavas, because they started gambling. It is all examples. It's not that the Pandavas were not good in characters. Oh, they were great devotees of the Lord. There cannot be anybody better devotee than the Pandavas. They dedicated their life in their mind and heart. Every time they were thinking of Krishna. But yes, it's a pastime that the Lord wants us to see and experience, because if somebody gets into gambling, then his mind gets completely bewildered and he'll start taking any decision that is not good for his life. So that's another part of it that we have to look at it. So basically, we have to follow the 4 principles, 4 basic regulative principles, or they're called the 4 pillars of spiritual life. We have to make them very, very strong. And everything comes from spirit. And once the spirit is free, then the realization is very easy. Now, once our spirit is free from all this contamination of the material world, then the realization becomes very easy. Krishna provides everything to the soul. To the extent that we surrender, he reciprocates. The more you surrender, the more he reciprocates. The more you want to keep him at bay, he will also keep you at bay. Yeah, it's likewise. If one needs to love. It's reciprocation. If you start loving Krishna, Krishna will start loving you. Not that Krishna doesn't love you. He's our eternal Father, and a father always loves his children. But nevertheless, sometimes when we start keeping a little distance, then we are going out of his mind. So the quickest way to reach Krishna is to surrender to a devotee. You can't surrender to Krishna directly. We've seen this example. It is very easy to surrender to devotee. Here in this purport also you see, Dhruva Maharaj, he's getting instructions from, or he's listening to Manu. Manu is a great devotee of the Lord. So if you hear the devotees, if you follow the devotees, then our surrender is high. And when we surrender to devotees, he reciprocates all of that. Only by, in the next chapter as we go, we will see that his anger will subside and he sits down to hear him very, very carefully. In this shloka that we are discussing today, it is Manu Maharaj is just giving him instructions saying that stop killing. Yeah, stop killing the innocent people. And it's a very simple thing, if you have to tell the Lord that I love you, you have to also reciprocate, you have to also show him that you really love. Let's take one simple example, the husband wife at home. The husband is watching TV all through the day. Yeah. And the wife is, continuously doing the home chores. And occasionally, whenever there's an ad in the TV, he flips to the other side and tells the wife that I love you. But here the wife is, continuously working at home, catching up with so many things from morning till evening. And, um, and this husband only keeps saying that I love you. Okay, where's my dinner? I love you. Where is my breakfast? So it is only temporary and he is not helping his wife. The true love will come up only when he puts off the TV and asks her, saying that, can I help you? Can I help you doing some home chores? Or can I support you? Or can I be a part of the work that we do? Yeah. So if you spend that quality time with somebody, then the love is actually reciprocated. Likewise, Krishna has given us anything. Krishna has given us everything, and when Krishna has given everything, why are we not reciprocating? I was just yesterday, watching a video, uh, though it can be directly related. This is a very nice story of a businessman, and he sees a poor man, young poor man, who's begging. So he says, "Why are you begging? You should not be begging. You should actually be working." So the beggar tells him, "Yes, sir, I agree with you. If you give me a job, I will stop begging." So he says, "Why a job? I will start a partnership with you. I'll give you some advices on business. Why don't you start a business?" So he says, "Yes, I'm ready to do that, and I will do everything that's important for me to make this business successful." So this rich man tells him that, uh, I have a rice mill, and which actually churns out very good quality of rice. You can sell it for me here in this part of the city, and you can keep 90% of the profit and give me only 10%. So this man feels, oh, 90-10, it should be only 50-50, or because he's investing, he would give me only 10% and he should keep 90%. But the wealthy merchant says, no, you keep 90%, just give me 10%. And they start business, and this poor man starts supplying good quality of rice, and he, uh, over a period of time, gets a lot of money because he's supplying good quality of rice and becomes a very rich person. And when it comes to sharing the profits, he feels that I've been doing everything. Why should I share the profit with this wealthy merchant? He's not done anything for me. I've been putting so much of efforts, going, meeting everybody, supplying them, collecting payments, all of that. So when he meets this wealthy merchant, he says, no, I've incurred losses and I cannot pay you anything. I don't have money. So it is very similar to Krishna. Krishna has given us everything. And what is he expecting? He's expecting only 10% of our time. In 24 hours, he says, you dedicate only 2 hours, 2.5 hours for me. That also, like the poor man, despite seeing the benefits of everything, despite doing everything, they are saying, no, I've incurred losses. What I mean by saying I've incurred losses is we say, I don't have time. Krishna has given us 24 hours. And He's provided us all the facilities to overcome all the challenges of life. He's provided us education, He's provided us good family, He's provided us food, He's provided us everything. Despite that, we can become cheaters, like saying, I don't have 10% of the time that I can dedicate for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, same way Krishna actually demands love. When we give him something, he reciprocates multiple number of times. And in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 66th verse, he says, Sarva dharman paritajya mam ekam sharanam praja. Aham tvam sarva papepyo mokshashyami masucha. You abandon all kind of activities, all kind of varieties of religion, and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Krishna himself so authoritatively tells this, but we still don't follow it. So one step beyond for us to really start our relationship is the offenseless japa. Holy name is all powerful. Even if somebody chants the holy name with offenses, he will still get the benefit. Even with offenses, Krishna, brings japa brings one closer to Krishna. But if we follow it nicely, then the returns will be much higher. One does not progress in the spiritual life with their own efforts. One has to serve the Vaishnavas to advance in the spiritual life. One has to serve the devotees. One has to serve the acharyas. And Srila Prabhupada used this very nice word called phantasmagoria. Now, we are thinking we are all very happy, we are all in comfortable position. But it is not so. It is a place of misery. So we better take up to Krishna consciousness and nicely practice it. And join the spiritual family of devotees. Yeah, many times we see, we bend down and say, Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyevacha. But while saying so, I also feel that I actually want to punch this devotee on his face. So that's a wrong kind of a thinking. Just give away those kalmasha which is growing in your heart. Don't listen to any Vaishnava aparadh. Don't listen to any Vaishnava ninda. This will take you out of, the clutches of Maya and take you into spiritual life once you start doing all of that. We may have difficulty in associating, but we should understand that we can't survive without our devotee association. Yeah, there are different kinds of devotees, different kinds of thoughts, different kinds of ideas. It doesn't matter. The most important part is we have to understand that we can't survive without devotee association. Yeah. And there's another thing that we have to really look at is Damodar. What is Damodar? Gateway to hell is anger. Yeah. So one should get away from this anger that he has. And we are actually indebted to all the acharyas in keeping us steady, in keeping us within Krishna consciousness, and they have given us so much of material that we could read. So, uh, coming to an end of this session, it is very important that we associate with devotees, we take their mercy and follow their instructions. In this particular shloka, Swayambhuva Manu is advising Dhru Maharaj to stop fighting and stop killing those who are not involved in the war. So, despite being a Kshatriya, the most underlining point in today's discussion is saying that every living entity has a spirit soul, and along with spirit soul, we have a super soul. So we have to treat every living entity as a temple, as a temple of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, where the Supreme Personality of Godhead resides, Supreme Soul. The super soul is residing in everybody's body, and we should treat it as human beings. We should treat it as a temple. And as human beings, we should respect that, take association of the devotees nicely, stop doing any Vaishnava path, and go back home, back to Godhead. So I will end my session here from the verse that we were discussing. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, or if there are any doubts, I can clear that. or if you have any comments, I request you to, please make the amends on whatever I spoke today. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. So if there are no questions, then I will end the session here. Thank you very much for your patient hearing, and I thank the temple management for allowing me to speak on the subject. And thank you all for joining this morning's session, both online as well as offline. Mantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srimad Pada ki jai, Goswami God Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.